Hi, it's me, Ingrid INFP, and I'm tapping in my inner ESTJ, and I'm going to start with this video with promoting a little idea that I had. I have tons of these little keychain thingies that I've made out of plastic lying around. I have that one that is zebra, and I have this one that is in Ukraine or Sweden colors, depending on what you want this to represent. And I wanted to post them in the mail for you guys. Unfortunately, postage is very expensive, especially in Sweden. So it cost me $3 or 30 crowns, Swedish crowns, to post it outside of Sweden, even in the smallest envelope. So I thought that maybe if you donate $3 on my coffee, I will, and you provide me with your address, then I will send you one of these and a little note in the mail. And I can maybe get to know you guys better. Obviously, these things have no value whatsoever except for the value that I put on it. That's the concept of capitalism, right? They are made with love, and I think that I'll also write a note that will be filled with love. I will be losing money on this, so it's not a very lucrative business. But I'm doing this because I love you guys, and not because I am secretly an ESTJ. Okay? So that is my first thing. Now let's go into the actual subject of the video, right? Let's pause it here. Okay, so the subject of this video is about ENTJs. And I was thinking about this because Psych Casserole made a video about ENTJs and INFPs and how this was a dynamic relation. Apparently, ENTJs are attracted to INFPs, which is apparently our ideal match. I mean, there are tons of ideal matches, but one of the ideal matches is ENTJ INFP. This is usually seen as a kind of dominant, submissive kind of thing, like a bossy one and a more weaker one in the media and such. But there, I can see the potential of things going quite well actually with this dynamic. I personally would be a little bit I'm frightened by most ENTJs. But I think that ENTJs can actually be very beneficial to ENTJs, and vice versa. INFPs can be very beneficial to ENTJs. And I was trying to think of my personal experiences with ENTJs. Most of them, I don't know many of them, but most of them are like bosses or my rivals. They're people who are go-getters. They're people who are always on the move, always doing stuff, and it's not really like I move in the same realms as them. They're often in the business world. I don't work in that business. I work in healthcare, and I work in public healthcare, so ENTJs have moved out of there as quickly as they could and gone to a private practice as quickly as they could to earn more money and to actually do something that makes logical sense. Since I'm a feeler and I'm not as smart about these kinds of things, I work in the public sector, in socialist medicine. And so I don't think that ENTJs are really like the type that would go for that kind of thing. They're more the type that's like smart about like what kind of car, like if you want to invest in housing in order to be the great landlord and in order to invest and in the end become the richest person in your area, you know? I think ENTJs are very smart, but they're also awesome people. Um, I was thinking about this because of Psychastral's video. I really recommend that you check out Psychastral. I I used to have a little bit of a problem because Psychastral has these really psychedelic colors and his eyes are really blue, almost scarily blue. So it just made me a little bit nauseous to watch his videos, unfortunately. Sorry. Um, but they're really good videos and they're pretty funny too. Um, so I recommend that you go watch them. So that video explained how ENTJs and INFPs can be a good match. Um, because ENTJs can really get INFPs out of their shell and actually do stuff and with their TE, you know, and they can see the potential in INFPs, and INFPs see the potential in the emotional growth of ENTJs because ENTJs have that FI that's last. It can lead to problems since we are so different, and there's a tendency of ENTJs to boss people around, and INFPs might be resistant to that. INFPs might also be very sensitive to some kind of harsh criticisms that ENTJs might give. But I've worked with an ENTJ closely. He was my supervisor at a certain time, and he was actually the nicest supervisor at the medicine clinic, the internal medicine clinic. I made a video about the internal medicine clinic, and I still have trauma to this day of my experience at that department, because everybody was so. It was a toxic environment, and I was bullied at my workplace. But this ENTJ doctor actually defended me against this big horde of different doctors that were saying that I was shit, basically. And I think that ENTJs feel protective of INFPs, and that's actually a very positive thing. We sometimes don't like to be protected, you know, we don't want to be seen as inferior or weak, but the world is tough on INFPs, and having somebody that wants to protect you, that understands you a little bit on your side is really, really beneficial. And so this doctor saw my potential, because a lot of the doctors were saying that I was working too slow and that I didn't take initiative and that I was like too timid, too shy to do a good job in this fast-paced competitive environment. And he said, but she's still learning. Of course she's going to be slow. We didn't talk much, but he saw that I was trying my best. He saw that I was working towards my potential. And NI is really about seeing potential on things and seeing the goals. And he could see that I was working hard. And even though I was weird, since ENTJs are also intuitives, they can see that weirdness and see it as an asset rather than just me being difficult, basically. A lot of people in medicine are sensors, and so to have another intuitive on your side is well respected is very good. So I'm really thankful for this ENTJ supervisor for helping me out. I only worked with him at like 2 nights and 2 days, pretty much. And he basically told me what to do and I would do it and I wouldn't really complain. And it worked out, you know, because we trusted each other. We trusted each other in those roles, you know. Obviously, in this case, these roles were already defined for us. And I think that if I were in with an ENTJ in a relationship, these roles we would have to talk about it. But I think that it would come pretty naturally as well, because the natural instinct of the ENTJ is to protect and to be a little bit bossy in order to get things done, the TE effectiveness, and try to plan the life of the INFP. And the INFP can take this in different ways. I think that sometimes we might be annoyed, but sometimes we might be actually pretty happy about it secretly. And this ENTJ tried to plan my life. He was seeing like, oh, but if you buy this car and then you resell it, if you buy a house for this price in town, then you could be able to get enough money so that you could buy your own house, like with a garden or everything. So he was like planning my life like 10 years, 20 years into the future, And I was like, I don't think about these things, And like, I'd never asked him to plan my life like this. And he was saying, yeah, well, also because I grew up in France, he thought that was really interesting because he grew up in Romania. And he said, oh, but like you can earn a lot of money in France if you, if like you could work as a radiologist in France, and so you could like earn your living and like live in France where it's sunny, and you could do telework with Sweden, and because Sweden has such lax working times and working like great working conditions, so by doing that I would get the best of both worlds. And like that's such a TE, like it's such an ENTJ thing to do, and it was really helpful. He was also really chill about like he trusted me like during the night, and I could ask all my questions, and he wouldn't think that I was being dumb. He was like encouraging me to ask questions, and to be critical and to think for myself. But at the same time, he was always there as a support if I needed it. So I really like this ENTJ. I think that it's very easy for INFPs to fall into the role of like the follower and the ENTJ as the leader. But it doesn't feel bad in all cases, if there's a good relationship of trust, then I think that it can work out actually pretty well. Because secretly I think that INFPs kind of want to somebody to do that work of making the decisions, So I think that it could work actually really well. Then at the same time, you can't be with immature ENTJ. At some point, you'll run into some problems. ENTJs are not in tune with who they are and their emotions. My INFJ friend tried to date an ENTJ because ENTJs are also really attracted to INFJs. But it didn't turn out well because this ENTJ, as soon as my INFJ tried to go deeper into like emotions, he just clammed up and started crying and ghosted the INFJ, and like it didn't go well. So ENTJs need to learn that emotions are not terrible. It's not the end of the world if they get a little bit emotional. But they've been bottling up emotions for like so long time that if it comes out, it's terrible, They're the kind of person that will throw things if they get upset, because they haven't learned to handle FI very well. So that's the case of a lot of ENTJs and ESTJs, I think. So yeah, if you find yourself a more healthy ENTJ, then they will have learned that this is not one of their strong suits, but that they need to acknowledge that they have feelings and that life isn't just about work and effectiveness and success. There are other things in life that are deeper, more important, and that at some point they'll have to realize that they're compromising on a lot by just being on the go all the time, doing all sorts of stuff, planning all sorts of things. In the end, do they actually sit down and realize, like, oh wow, what I've been doing, I think that might be a problem for ENTJs. But I like, they have the NI vision, which is pretty much a magical thing. ENTJs are apparently the least common type. It used to be the INFJ, but it's actually the ENTJ. And I realized that I actually have an ENTJ friend who's a girl, who's a woman, and that must be the rarest personality type there is. But I actually grew up with, well, she was in middle school and high school with me, and she was very go-getter. She did a lot of stuff, and she was a competitive swimmer, and then she went to Cambridge, and she works as a biomedical engineer. Well, she was with AstraZeneca, but I think that she's with some other company now. And she was really, really nice, actually. We were lab partners for a large part of school, and I really liked her. And she also did that thing where she was like protecting me against like bullies, because she was popular, so she could use that to, I could use her shield kind of to be able to be okay with the situation being at school with bullies, and she really appreciated my creativity, and she found me really funny, and I found her really fun to be around. She was often very, very busy, but that's why we're not really in contact right now, because she just keeps being busy with 10,000 activities and people to see and things to supervise all the time. But I think that's the fact that she's an intuitive, like she can see the potential to be a great person, and that I'm different from people, but that's actually a good thing. I think that ESTJs have a hard time dealing with people who are different, like INFPs. ENTJs are different themselves, so they can see that. I also think that ENTJs, since when they're really good at TE, it can look like FE. They can actually take care of large groups of people. They can put people in different spots and be very insightful about people. It's a little bit sad because they treat people like objects, but when you are dealing with a lot of people, it can be kind of useful to think about it that way. ENTJs have to be a little bit careful not to be too blunt or harsh in their criticisms. But I think that it's actually a pretty good combo with INFPs. I really love this friend. She was really helpful to me. She was, it was just, it makes me happy to think about her. Because she really helped me get out of my shell, helped me get more extroverted. She never made me feel bad for being different. And even though she was doing all of this stuff to become successful, she did have some values that we shared together. And she was also really helpful. And there was a teacher who said that I should never go into biology, and I should never go to Sweden. And my friend said that no, actually, it seems pretty likely that you'll go that path and that it will be great for you. And always listen to an NI user making these kinds of predictions, because they're usually right. And I mean, if they're not right, they haven't made a grave miscalculation either. So yeah, I ended up where I am, and I'm really happy for the ENTJs that are healthy that I've met in my life. So yeah, that's what I had to say about ENTJs. I also recommend you guys that you check out the series Gentleman Jack, that is about the first married lesbian couple in England. And they are an example of an ENTJ and an INFP who actually existed in real life. And it was based on the diaries of the ENTJ. And it's really funny how the ENTJ is like moving, like she's always on the move and always doing 10,000 things and like negotiating different properties and stuff. And the INFP is just so amazed, and the ENTJ is so head over heels in love with the INFP. So I think that this is a really good example. So yeah, okay, that's all I had to say. Now we've gone over 20 minutes. But so I want to say to ENTJs that I do love you. I am scared of a lot of you, because a lot of you try to boss me around for no reason. But a lot of INFPs are kind of attracted to ENTJs. We don't really speak the same language, but and the roles that we might play might be difficult to subvert. But I think that there is some spark in there. There is some interest in the different, and there is a lot of potential for growth in both these types when they're together, that I think could actually work out. It could lead to a lot of conflict and craziness, but it could also work out. So yeah, tell me what you guys think. Have a great day. Bye.